good money, okay? 7 figures. One guy, 8 figures. Can you imagine that? But I was sitting there and I was watching these guys, and it didn't matter who they were. It didn't matter what they were going through. One thing they all had in common, the very biggest thing I found that they all had in common, which I took home from that, right? All these people are in here putting in the work. That's why they're hitting 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, $40,000 a month. All these guys are hitting these because they're putting in the work, because they're not afraid of taking responsibility. And I think that kind of leads me into what I wanted to talk to you guys about tonight. I think one of the biggest areas when I remember my growth, because I sat down with my wife and I just sometimes we just rant back and forth about, our life, what we went through, the ups and downs, because there's ups and downs in this, guys. This isn't just freaking boom, you're there, right? You're not going to be there tomorrow. This isn't a get rich quick thing. This is something you've got to put the work in. You've got to put the time in. And then what I think after that, right? Work, time, because that goes into it, but taking responsibility, because too often, when I look back on my life, I remember going out to Miami with my mentor, and I remember sitting down, getting drunk, doing all this fun shit for a week, right? We were just grinding, out there, partying all night, getting done at 3, 4 a.m. But guess what? Next morning, 7 a.m., didn't matter what time we got in the night before, 7 a.m., everybody's down there. They're freaking eating freaking breakfast together. They're on the phone. They're dispatching their crews, and they're putting in the work. And one thing that I noticed there when I was there that day, and I was there with, obviously, my mentor guys did well over 90 million last year. I was with a couple other guys that were doing 20, 30 million a piece. Just all these guys that had big digital marketing businesses, big agencies, and they were just grinding and growing. Some of them even were doing just lead gen, but they were grinding and growing, making good money, okay? 7 figures. One guy, 8 figures. Can you imagine that? But I was sitting there and I was watching these guys, and it didn't matter who they were. It didn't matter what they were going through. One thing they all had in common, the very biggest thing I found that they all had in common, which I took home from that, right? Because normally when I'm about partying for an entire week, I usually don't take home shit, but alcohol poisoning. But this time I remember sitting down and I remember taking home the fact that we're all sitting around this table and they were all helping each other take responsibility. So if a team member wasn't doing something, instead of complaining and going, oh man, that guy time and time again, doesn't matter how many times I show him, he just never gets it right. This never happens like it's supposed to. This doesn't happen like it's supposed to. Instead of complaining about the person, they were all asking themselves and asking other people, hey, this happened. How can I take responsibility? How can I make sure this never happens again? They all knew they can't control outside sources, but how can they, right? And so I think this leads back to you guys a little bit, to where I know some of you jump in and you're you want to blame, right? You want to go, well, I have work, I have this, I have that. And we're just blaming. We're playing this fucking blame game day in and day out. But I need you guys to look in the mirror. I need you guys to look in the mirror, okay? And see, are you really putting in the effort? Are you really putting in the time? Are you really surrounding yourselves with other people that are doing this? Because if you are, then it's going to happen for you. But if you're not, I want you to pivot.